Hello everyone, I am OmnusI, once more back here in the Lair of OmnusI, and today is day 12 of the RPG A Day questions. You know the rest of the story, so you'll pardon me if I move on. Today's question is, what is your wildest character concept? Again, I don't usually make wild characters. I make characters that fit into the world and do something. When I think of wild characters, I mean, I've made a dwarven barbarian, but that was because I had this concept of an immature dwarf brawler who would eventually turn into a fine dwarven thane's son and eventually an exemplar of his people. So that was telling a story through my character creation development, so that's not really all that wild. I'm really struggling to come up with a good character for this because it's just not something I do. I guess the best example of this would be we were playing Werewolf the Apocalypse again, and I had a character who his superpower was that he was rich. That was it. I mean, he was wealthy. He was of a social part of the werewolves that were fine with technology and being rich and being successful. I think he was like a CEO of an arms company, Winter Arms, which turned out okay. The thing was, he was kind of ruthless. He was in some ways fairly stereotypical for the game. The Glasswalkers are the family of werewolves who are cool with the city and everything. All the rest of them like nature more. And I, the name wasn't original, which I'm a little bit embarrassed for. I can come up with better names. But his name was Dorian Gray. And if you know your literature, you know about the painting of Dorian Gray. So that wasn't. I love the name though. I really love the name, and I cribbed it. I don't think any of the people that I played with knew, anything of Dorian Gray. So he was, and this was before 50 Shades of Grey. So if you're thinking that, no, not at all. So why was he wild? He was wild because number one, he led his group, and with a pretty iron fist. Not because of the dangers of, if you don't follow me, I'll shoot you. It was more, if you don't follow me, I'm not funding this. Work with me, you'll have a house, you'll eat well, we'll be able to get places easy because I'm rich. And it worked. I had a group that did that. On the other hand, the whole group took a lot of life. That's not quite the right word. The whole group took a lot of. They didn't hold to following rules very well. Their pack totem was Twister, which meant that we were overly destructive a lot of the time. And I was probably one of the most lax pack leaders for this group because, again, all I had to do was sick them on something and things were going to explode and people were going to get thrown. The bad people were going to get hurt. In the end, I was only barely in control of any of it. It all just kind of kept spiraling and spiraling and spiraling. He's probably my most wild character. One of the few times I actually took a leadership position in a group. Oftentimes when I take leadership positions in a group, it doesn't go well. Not that the group doesn't get led well. It's just the characters that I take, because of their more extreme personalities that drive them to want to be the leader, means they're usually the least qualified to be the leader as far as morals or sometimes judgment. And Dorian was a fun character for a fun campaign of just recklessness and violence. That's not, again, a very good answer, so we're going to dip into the alternate prompts too. Most ambitious campaign idea achieved is the second prompt they have for an alternate. This one I can proudly say, because the players that were involved in these campaigns, I'm going to throw up two, have said they enjoyed these campaigns more than almost anything else. So I'm probably going to throw this out. First of all, my first one was a 3rd edition Vikings campaign set in Mythic Earth. So the Vikings had to deal with their gods, and unfortunately they were also brushing up against the Imperium of Rome, who had they were backed by their pantheon of gods, and they had to split their attention because at the same time the Egyptians, with their pantheon of gods, were also looming. The gods of the Celts were not quite as powerful, but they were still present. So wherever the players went, they had to worry that, you know, different gods of different pantheons were watching them, and that they were the playing pieces of the gods of the Norse. So when they raided the Imperium, that was a way for their gods to attack the gods of the Imperium, and they were quite successful. It was a fun, low magic campaign. Wasn't magical items dripping all over. The most powerful magical item was one that a player created. The only time that's ever really happened, honestly. But he sunk in the experience, the feats, and everything, and he ended up making himself a big old beating hammer in honor of his patron Thor. And he was the shaman of the group, who... It was a fun game. It really told a good story. We played it for quite a while. It eventually fell apart, but it was a good campaign. We just had fun with the idea of just being Vikings, not worrying about alignment. You know, I put some restrictions on what kind of characters they could play. They were in a harsh environment. They had to fight against the cold. They raided. They got to just be bloodthirsty barbarian Vikings. It was cool. The other one that I'm proud of is my Vampire Chronicle, Vampire Throughout the Ages, which started in the Crusade era, went all the way up to the modern age. The thing that I'm most proud about both of those games is that both of them realized very good characters that the players really put on and developed and grew into over the course of 2.5 years for the Vampire campaign, probably about 1.5 years for the Viking campaign. And to this day, those players still tell some of the stories about what happened in those games. There was a lot of memorable points. It was a lot of fun for both of those. Both running the games, watching the players play out their characters throughout the different situations that I threw at them. I had a lot of fun. It was a good time. So that's my answer to that question. So, another day. I am OmnusI. Thank you for joining me. Again, if you are enjoying these, my Facebook channel is open. If you want to subscribe, make sure you hit the notification button so that you'll know when I send more videos your way. And we'll keep doing these. Still ways to go through August. So, thank you, and may you have many successful adventures. Farewell.